thank you for coming today to
My
the show,
pleasure.
because it's not every day we got a double Emmy nominated.
Yes.
So thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Can you just tell me a bit of your background?
Sure. I've been in the media industry for 40 years.
Okay.
I got into 3D as a hobby, and as the industry grew, and we got to right before the first Avatar movie came out, I realized, wow, all of a sudden I can do stuff with a passion.
Okay.
And so I got into doing 3D films, did quite a few of those, syndicated a lot of them to where I had films playing in 65 countries around the world at one point. Mm-hmm. Then, unfortunately, 3D TV kind of waned off, and we had a little bit of a dry spell for a while, and I got into 4K and did some wonderful documentaries in 4K. And then, all of a sudden, we started hearing about VR in 360, and later on VR 180. And I realized that this is 3D's best friend. And so I jumped in with both feet, and I haven't looked back. I've been doing projects on a steady basis. I have probably close to 300 films that I've done in the last, around 11 years of being in VR. Mm-hmm. And it's been great for me because I've been able to travel the world. I've gotten to see some fantastic places and had a fantastic time doing it. And I just love what I do.
Okay, that's cool. So tell me, you work with, of course, you got some specialized camera.
Yes.
I'm, of course, as a hardware vendor, I'm interested into your feedback into what capacity storage you need, where are your bottlenecks, because I'm sure we got the same issues actually. So.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the first hurdle you have to jump is the cameras have definitely gotten better and better, as well as the resolution gotten better and better. But the flip side to that is that you now run into more bottlenecks because of the size of the files. Right now, my 8K camera, my 360 camera, is a 2-lens QCam Enterprise, 8K Enterprise, and it records 8K 10-bit color. So those are really big files. In fact, I'm using a 512 gig micro SD card in there to capture. And then with my VR 180, Canon just came out with a lens that attaches to 2 of their models, and I'm using the R5C. And then again, I've got 8K, 12-bit color with that, and I'm shooting RAW. Okay. And so it is huge files. The CF Express card that I have to use on the camera, it's a 1 terabyte, and it only holds 53 minutes worth of video. Okay. And so you then have to get that drop down, and there's a big bottleneck when you're trying to capture that to your laptop in the field. You're having to work with, if you're going to have any kind of time to get things done, you have to work with Thunderbolt in order to get the transfer speeds.
I see.
Then once you get it onto the hard drives, the way that I go ahead and store things is I have 2 sets of drives for each set of video that I create. One is a main, one is a backup. Because one thing that you realize early on in this business is hard drives are temporary storage. They're not permanent. They will fail. And strange things can happen. So, a hard drive falls, the file gets corrupted, the hard drive crashes. So you've got to keep backups. And I've gone from 500 gig hard drives to where now I'm just getting in a 14 terabyte Seagate Iron Wolf Pro today, and I'm going to start transitioning into these monster-sized drives, which is great because up until now it's been 5 terabyte has been like the biggest size, and I'm still archiving my stuff onto 2 small drives, but they're excellent little drives. They're very durable, and knock on wood, I haven't had any crashes with them. But again, having 2 sets, it makes it's so secure. I mean, the only time you worry about it is when you're transferring the information, because then they're both hooked up at the same time.
How do you work when you do the video processing or editing?
Well, when you're talking about 8K, it almost doesn't matter how big your computer is. I've got an i9 Intel processor, 12th generation. We're only now getting into the 13th generation. And it's fast, but it can't even live stream 8K. You've got to go ahead and create proxies. So now you're adding even more storage. And then you've got to process it. And then sometimes you have to bring it out and do some post effects. So you may do some sharpening and denoising. And then that takes sometimes overnight in order to get the video completed. So there's lots of challenges, shall we say, in working with it.
I mean, you told me, we met yesterday, you told me that you work in RAID 1 or RAID 0 you work?
Yes, RAID 0 is what I use for actually doing the editing because I need that fast speed. I need that be able to, in order to, even with the 4K and even 2K proxies that I create, and once I start adding effects to it, that weighs it down and slows it down. In order to keep it going fast, that's how I have to do things. So the RAID 0 is the fastest that you can get. But then again, also, it's going back and forth between the two drives. If your RAID fails, you're in trouble.
So what we do at Fibrenetix, usually in security, we work in RAID 5 or RAID 6.
Yes.
We got much more hard drive to play with. So you got one big chunk of file on your side.
Right.
And actually, in security, we got multiple camera with small bandwidth.
Right.
But at the end, the bottleneck is the same thing. So we need to be able to record everything in one place without missing any frame. So it's challenging there. And then when you add your image processing or when you do some special effects, then in our case, we got video analytics guys who need GPU running at the same time. So you need to keep writing at the same time, but be able to process it at the same time. I was thinking that with your experience and everything, actually, we find out that actually we have exactly the same bottlenecks.
Yes.
And we talk exactly the same language, but we're from different industries.
Yes.
We use the same component.
Yep.
And that's actually why that discussion is really, for me, entertaining, because I came from that field before. And I can say that what you say, it's totally relevant for us.
Yes, absolutely. It's very, very similar. You may not have to do the special effects that I do, and you may not be shooting in 3D, but it's still data, and it's data flow. And you've got to keep a good, strong connectivity to keep everything moving smoothly.
So any interesting project you're working on right now?
Actually, yes, I'm working on a new one. COVID has changed the world, that's for sure. And now that we're getting out of COVID, I'm starting to look around at things that are going on. And in Thailand, the tourism industry is a huge part of the infrastructure here. And one of the things that we saw was that the amazingly beautiful Thailand elephants, the Asian elephants, how did COVID affect them? Because the tourists disappeared. And elephants are very social animals, and even more so for the elephants that have been working in the tourism industry. They get to interact with tourists every day, and they're very gregarious. They're very engaging. They're very highly intelligent. And what I'm doing now is I'm doing a story looking at two things. I'm looking at how it affected the elephants from the beginning of COVID to now as we're coming out of it, and also how ethical tourism is starting to raise its head. We're realizing that some of the things that were being done to elephants before were actually abusive. And now we're trying to find a way to still let everyone enjoy these beautiful creatures, but yet do it in a safe, secure way for the elephants and the guests, because it can go both ways.